Okay, I'm Thom Harrop. I'll be teaching 3 classes in the spring: ART-139, Introduction to Photography; MGD-102, which is Intro to Multimedia; and JOU-121, which is Photojournalism. Intro to Photography, kind of the fun photography class. It's you can take it and become a professional photographer, but it's mostly just to learn to just take great images for fun. Intro to Multimedia, we do video, audio, basically all kinds of multimedia, and it's all hands-on. Photojournalism, will be out doing photojournalism. Sometimes we make badges and actually go out and cover events. I wanted to share some recent student projects, and I can only describe them. SNCC magazine, we did a year or so ago. We did a gaming issue, and it's an actual print publication. You can buy it on blurb.com. Students have used it for their own promotion. Maryhill Rats magazine we're working on right now. There's an event in Washington State where they ride skateboards and street luges down this road, and one of our students participates in that, and we're making a magazine for those people. We did a Denver photo book a couple of years ago, and right now we're working on Denver at Night, which is another photo book, and anybody's welcome to join that. We're basically going out and photographing from Flatiron Crossing to Parker, basically, and from Aurora to maybe Idaho Springs at night. That's the only thing. And we're getting some great work in on that. That book will be ready by the end of this semester. We also have 2 of my students, and one of them, we've been doing a podcast for over a year now. And I think they've learned a lot about how to do podcasts. And, even if they wanted to do a radio show, I think they could do it. So the rest of this is my personal work. And the reason I wanted to share this is because when I wanted to be a photographer, my parents, I think, would rather have had me do almost anything else. And it took a long time to convince them that I should go to photography school. But these are some photographs that I specifically picked that I've done over the years, and they are things that photography gave me access to. Things that really, a lot of great events in my life, a lot of great experiences. And this was bighorn sheep in Glacier National Park. I photographed in Glacier National Park for about 3 years for a long-term project. And one day we walked in this meadow and there were 3 dozen of these bighorn sheep. About 2 weeks ago, I went with a writer from the New York Times and we photographed the Milky Way galaxy. This is an animation. I don't know if these are going to end up in the New York Times, but it's possible. But it was a great experience anyway. Here is a pair of sibling orangutans. This is in the jungle in Borneo. I was flown over there by Malaysian Air. They were abducted and taken to Hong Kong as pets. They had been reunited, and this was the first day they were back together, and they just sat in this tree and hugged it. They recognized each other immediately. They just hugged each other all day, as far as I know. We hung out and watched. This is a whale shark. This is 80 feet of water off the coast of Borneo, Labuan. That woman on the left, by the way, is the first Asian female dive master in Southeast Asia. This thing is not scary. It's called a whale shark, but they're vegans. Let's see. Well, this is the Sydney Opera House. This is sort of in my portfolio. I wanted to do something different. So when I was sent to Australia to photograph Sydney, I sort of walked all the way around this thing. That's not a short walk. The next series is celebrities that I've met through photography. This is Alan Tudyk. He was in the last Star Wars movie, and if you don't know who he is, you should look him up. And he's as funny in person. He's absolutely a wonderful person. This is the dude, Jeff Bridges. Again, just an absolute hoot. I got about 1,000 pictures of him, and all of them were great. This is, if you don't know who this is, your parents and grandparents, this is Charlton Heston. I photographed him in his house. Again, it was one of the great experiences of my life. Janet Guthrie, I photographed her at the Indy 500. She was the first woman to drive an Indy car. And when I was photographing her, she got out of her car in the pits and came and sat next to me on the pit wall and started asking me questions about how she should fix her brakes because it was fading in turn 3. And I sort of looked at her. I think she thought I was a mechanic or something. And anyway, she figured out, because I had so many cameras on me, that I wasn't. And so, but we just sat and had a delightful conversation for about a half hour. Again, without a camera, I would have been thrown out of there in about 5 seconds. Murphy, pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. If you like sports, being a photographer is the only profession to go into if you're not a baseball pitcher. I got to hang out with this guy on the mound in the clubhouse. We went out to dinner. I spent the whole day at Angel Stadium in Southern California, photographed him for a PC Laptop magazine. Steffi Graf, she was the top female tennis player in the world. I was sitting on the tennis court. There's a little bench next to the net. I was sitting there photographing her. This was an assignment for Pentax. So you can see she's clear off the ground. She was into every point like her life depended on it. I worked for NASA, got to photograph. This is the X-31. This is the closest I ever came in my life to dying. The guy who's flying this is an opera-singing German pilot named Karl. They did a maneuver where they thought the plane just flipped over and went the other way. It's called, I think, the Herbst's tongue maneuver or something. The plane actually flips over and goes sideways, and he missed hitting the Learjet that I was in by 3 feet. He literally, his tail missed our jet by 3 feet. And I looked at the guy next to me and said, was that as close as I thought? He was ghostly white. He said, we're still alive, right? I said, yeah. He was looking out of a periscope in the bottom of the plane, and he thought that we were dead. He thought that the X-31 had hit us. This is where photographers stand when the space shuttle was landing. So you could literally take your camera and throw it and hit the space shuttle. I don't care who you are. You could be a senator or the president. You can't stand out there unless you're a NASA photographer. This is me in the back of a T-38 jet trainer. I got to go for a checkout ride. It was about 2 hours. It was the greatest roller coaster ride in history. I actually got to fly the jet for about 20 minutes. And at one point we were flying 1,000 miles an hour, 500 feet off the ground with radar tracking. Again, without a camera, there is no way I would have ever been able to do that. So a little glimpse into the kind of life you can have as a photographer. I'm not saying everybody who goes into photography has that life, but it at least kind of gives you the possibility.